water. Am I live yet? Because I want to get my water. Let's double check. Let's make sure we're not live before I grab my water. How about that, huh? Now, but jokes aside, it says I'm live, but I can't see the chat window. That can't be good. Let's make sure the chat is enabled. I think the chat's on. I mean, you know. That's weird. I've never seen the chat box disappear while trying to start a stream. Man, that sucks. I'm gonna have to start over. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Whoops. Oh boy. Okay, I hope that fixes itself. I hope the algorithm doesn't screw me over, because sometimes if you accidentally tell YouTube that it's a stream for kids, it doesn't show the chat window. So we have to always make sure that we get that done correctly. So we are probably now live, and for anybody tuning in on the replay, as always, I humbly ask that you consider hitting the like and the subscribe button. In the meantime, I'm just gonna go and check a couple of things here. Make sure everything is in order, and then we're going to jump into a rabbit hole or two. Hopefully that sounds like fun to some of you guys there. Now, what do I mean by rabbit hole? Well, no, we're not going to go rabbit hunting. What I mean is that we're going to, well, we're going to just jump into a really, like, I don't know, a topic that I'm not super fond of, but I think it, I think it needs to be, like, talked about. And while we're at it, we're going to put the chat on every screen. You can see I have the chat on every screen. We're going to do a little experiment. We're going to make the chat larger, just a little larger. So there we go. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go and grab a glass of water. So I will be right back. Guess that's enough water, isn't it? I'm really tempted to end this stream and start over, because I have a concern that if you don't start the stream on the right foot, that it won't get people viewing the stream, you know? But let's see, we'll give it a couple minutes, because maybe I am incorrect. But I think we're going to start on, do we want to talk about cybersecurity? Do we want to talk about Gundams? I have some Gundams I finished, well, not finished, but, well, mostly. So let's go and take a look at what we have here. And you can see we have a blurry Victory Gundam right here. What do you think? No, okay, let's turn on the, Hey, we got someone in chat already. Good, okay, that means that people are getting notifications. Okay, thank you, VGC and M Dumping Ground. Nice to meet you. And you are a wrench, which means, oh, I know you. I think I know you. Oh, you're doing it again, trying to throw me off. I see. Keep me on my toes here, huh? Yeah, Castlevania Cast Club, and they have a premiere right now, apparently, with one person watching, and this must be the Castlevania Cast Club. Yeah, I know about these people. They're infamous. Wait, wrong button. And by infamous people, just one guy. And I'm sure, yeah, I know this guy. I can tell because he's got sports here. That's funny. That picture looks like my neighborhood. Oh, it's Queens. Kind of like the same thing as Staten Island. It's not Staten Island, but it kind of is the same, you know? Same type of people. People with, like, you know, hoity-toity accents. If you ever talked to someone from the Lower East Side, you know what I mean. But, yeah, so this is the V2 Victory Gundam. And, it's basically complete, you know? And we used the thin cement to hide the panel lines, so that's why we can't see the panel lines today. I'm doing this show because I've decided that I want to do a Monday show every Monday. Only things like, I'm curious if a notification came up for people or not, because I accidentally had the settings set to children, and problem is that you don't get, like, people can't use the chat if it's a children's stream. So here's the problem here. Basically, I left some, I spilled some cement over here, basically. So you can see, like, in a couple areas, actually, there's, like, some plastic cement, including this piece here, which is designed to come off pretty easily. Somewhat, there we go. So this piece here needs a little bit of love. And you can see, because I mean, like, when the plastic cement, and I'm not, this isn't the thin cement, this is the heavy cement. So this stuff melts plastic, like, straight up. Like, it literally melts the effing plastic, like, right away. Like, there's no, like wait time. It just starts, like, it starts making the plastic expand and puff up, like you see over here. That's not glue. That's the fucking plastic getting fucked up right there. So, you know, I gotta try to give this a little bit of a little scuff. But, you know, so what I want to talk about today was a rabbit hole, in particular, a topic that I'm not crazy about, but I stumbled into a video today, so I was like, I don't know why I wanted to go down this rabbit hole. I think it started because once in a while I'll check out the Adam Krigler show, and I don't really watch him anymore. I don't know, I don't have anything against Adam Krigler, just that, like, I don't know, I'm not entertained, but I have, like, a membership badge that's, like, many, many months old, and I kind of, like, am reluctant to, like, give it up, you know, like, I want, like, that status of being able to say I was here in the from the ground floor type shit, you know. So I'm still a member of his channel. I still pay like $5 a month just to, like, have that status. And I figure also once in a while you leave a member's chat or a super chat, and I can use that for clout. In fact, I really should have been leaving those free member chats every month just for the sake of getting, like, channel clout, you know, because maybe people would, like, check out my channel if I'm, like, going on a channel that has, like, 1,000 people watching at a time, right? So anyway, he has a guest on who seems like a really nice fella, but I think he's wrong, and his name is Andreas Xirtus, but that's with an X, Xirtus. Seems like a really nice fella, but he's big on this Tartaria thing. And first time I saw the guy appear on Adam's show, his background was, like, he had this thing that said, I study, like, a poster with a map, and it said, I study Tartaria. And I was, like, familiar with this because I've stumbled into this topic before. And so, I don't know, today I wanted to go, I stumbled into that rabbit hole a little further. It's like one of those alternate history rabbit holes, right? Where, like, somebody, claims that history's been rewritten, and in particular, there's a couple of angles that you'll see this Tartaria thing come up. Sometimes people will claim that if you see a building that has, like, a basement that's, like, half buried, where, like, it's almost like a trench next to a building and, like, a staircase. You ever see, like, old building has a staircase that goes halfway into the ground, and there's, like, a basement door, and then maybe the windows to the basement are, like, half underground and half above ground. So some buildings were legitimately resurfaced, you know, where the grade or the slope on the road was redone for one reason or another. And so, like, the ground floor of the building is no longer the ground floor. It's now the basement. And then in other cases, it was always like that. But people will try to claim that there's this worldwide flood called the mud flood. And I'm sure there's sometimes floods that cause a resurfacing or regrading of the ground, but they'll claim there was a worldwide flood that, like, had world-changing consequences. Like, there was this global spanning empire called the Tartarian Empire, and basically, they say that it existed because the name Tartaria or Tatar appears on maps. And it does, but, like, essentially there was a time where Western civilization didn't know much about inner China. And so they just kind of took that entire area and just said, this is Tartaria. And people might visit one corner or another, and they would just refer to it as that. But as, you know, we got a better understanding of the Orient, we started, you know, discreetly labeling it all. And so today, I don't know, I wanted to go down the rabbit hole because I saw this interview where he went on an interview with this, like, a guy called the Lore Lodge. And the, you know, Andreas guy is on the left. And these are the guys, they were debating him, but they were being real polite. They decided not to, like, make it into an argument. And part of it's because this guy, he'll throw so many, like, so-called facts at once that, you know, like, where do you begin when you want to counter them? You know, it's like you're not really prepared to counter something when someone throws 100 things at once. And I think to go further, let's just take a look at his YouTube channel. So we're going to search his channel, and there he is right there. In fact, he's doing a live stream right now, Secrets of the Priesthood. And it looks like a live stream with 12 people on at once. So that's cool. I don't have time for it, but, you know, that's on. And if we go to his channel, we can just see, like, some examples of, like, how he conveys history. So, I remember like he had like some playlist or some videos where like he basically like purports to give the history of a specific topic, you know, like in great detail. Nazi cover-up of Tartaria, you know, African consciousness, which I don't know. APEC, that's interesting. I didn't know he was involved in the APEC conference. I think he was just replaying it or something. I don't know. But anyway, let's see if we can find a playlist or something like that. Acid Dreams. It could be fun. I don't know. First time I tuned into the channel, there was like a video that was like the history of this whole fucking topic, basically, you know? And problem was when somebody gives you like their alternate history and they're going all like they're throwing things at you, but they're not giving you sources. And it's good to see you, Lady Miss. Thanks for dropping by. I was just touching on the Tartaria rabbit hole, and it's not something I want to fixate too much on, but I want to touch on it since it was on my mind today. And it's basically this belief that there was a global spanning empire called the Tartarian Empire, and people based this on maps where there's a region, basically all of China was labeled Tartar or Tartaria, and there's actually a small city in some country that has that name as well. But they'll try to claim that this was like a worldwide civilization and that Jesuits from England went to China and influenced China to basically like, you know, eliminate their own history of Tartaria to replace it with whatever they want. And it just has so many disparate facts that have to align. It doesn't seem to work, you know. It's like I remember someone gave a cool analogy where it's like when you go and look at the battlefield, a site of a battlefield, you'll find some fragments of bullets, or you'll find some pottery from the same era. And if I find 10 pieces of pottery and they go to the same bowl, I could say, good, this is from the same bowl of pottery, and we could try to date it or identify things that are similar. But when it's this Tartaria thing, it's like you'll find a piece of pottery from one pot and a piece of pottery from a different pot, and like you won't have a complete anything to show people. Now, Tartarian people, fans will claim they have something. They'll go and look at buildings. Any old architecture will often be purported as evidence of this global spanning empire, and they'll say that the reason that some like really beautiful architecture was knocked down was because of a cover-up, when a lot of times certain types of architecture, as beautiful as they were not really maintainable. They were untenable. Even though you would think of modern technology, you can maintain stonework 20 stories up. Sometimes this is just a real pain in the ass for a property owner in a city in modern day. But yeah, so that's the guy's YouTube channel, and like looks like right now I couldn't find anything that was specific. Here we've got Skull and Bones, Common Cannibals, and is this David Ewing? I don't know who David Ewing is, but he seems to be in the topic. Mormons, I'm sure there's a lot of things about Mormons, but apparently there's Mormons who were Moors. So those are like, you know, dark-skinned people from Africa who were Mormons who have Khazarian DNA. And it's like, only things like when he did the video with the other channel, hey, what up, Lemon Pie? When he did the interview or debate with these guys, he spends the first 10 minutes kind of like just like, you know, like rapid blasting his version of history. And I guess a good way to look at it is it's sort of like a fanfic version of history, I would say, you know? And he seems like a real nice guy too, you know, he's a genuinely nice guy. But now that we got Floral from Under a Rock here, and I should mention, he's got a show this Wednesday, I believe. And you should check out his show on Wednesday. And I think we should even drop a link to that while I show you guys my puppets. Actually, I have 2 puppets right now. Well, actually, I have a puppet. Now, it's not really a puppet. In fact, I'm supposed to finish some work. You know what I'm talking about? You know, the Wilfred mask, right? We got the Wilton mask right here. I got to do some filming and editing in relation to that. But let's drop that link. And if I made you a mod, you could drop a link. But then I'd have to click more buttons. So I do humbly ask you guys to consider subscribing from Under a Rock. Subscribe. There we go. So see, I put that in big old letters, and when you read capital letters on the internet, you're supposed to read that as me yelling at you. So take that as me yelling at you to subscribe. So yeah, anyway, I'll share this real briefly before I rag on that gentleman. I'm not going to really rag on that guy. I just wanted to share that topic because like it's so like I've stumbled into it before. Usually, like, the first introduction to the Tartaria topic was learning about so-called mud floods. And these aren't, like, you know, the global, you know, reign from like, you know, biblical times. This is more like relatively recent stuff, like past 300 years. And they'll take like pictures of people on orphan trains, and they'll say these orphan trains are because of the mud floods, and they're bringing these orphans from here to here because of the mud flood. And so they'll see like an old building where like an old church where they have like one of those basements where the windows are half underground and half above ground. Like, you know, when you have like a little staircase next to a building and it goes half into the ground and there's like a door. Sometimes the basement door used to be at the ground level until they resurfaced the street. Sometimes they resurface and redo the grade, you know, in order to fix the slope, especially like in places like, you know, in the Pacific Northwest where they have mountains and stuff. But like some people will claim that this building existed before the so-called global mud flood, and I'm talking like past 200-300 years, not 1,000, and that this is a cover-up. So like I saw like this guy, he looked at a church that had like some spires on it, and many churches have spires, you know, they have crosses and, you know, metal work on the top and stuff like that. More Mormons, yeah, I know, right? More Mormons. Well, they're not more Mormon. If anything, would they be more or less Mormon? Or would they be more or less more Mormon? More Mormon, less more Mormon. Anyway, it's a tongue twister. That's why I didn't say it, because then I overthink it. You know, it's like I just overthink it. But yeah, you know, so like that's the thing. Like they'll see a building with a spire on it, and they'll say that this spire was used for generating free electricity. And I'm not saying that's impossible. I've seen people talk about it. I've even seen some cool experiments where like supposedly I gotta try one of these days where like I'm supposed to put like a copper wire, I think, in the top of a tree, and then like put like a spike into the ground and then hook a motor up into it, and supposedly I'm supposed to be able to like see some, like detect a measurable amount of electrical current. And if that would work, I mean, I would love to power something off of that, charge a battery off of that. But, you know, even just seeing like some cool little phenomenon like that would be cool. Personally, I want a lightning rod, but I'm also afraid of getting in trouble having lightning strikes in the backyard, you know? Yeah. Well, more Mons. You said more Mormons earlier, so I'm combining it. More Mons. Now we're talking about the Jamaican bobsledding team, aren't we? Oh, no, it's okay. My train of thought is designed to be derailed, Floral. It is inherently designed to be derailed. It derails itself. I mean, dude, I'm using model glue right here. Okay, you know how I derail my own train of thought? I open this bottle. That's how. The fumes come out, and my train of thought is just... Okay? That has some strong fumes. Like this, it literally has like a skeleton painted on the side of the bottle somewhere telling you like open a window or something like that, you know. And also don't put it in your eyes. It definitely says don't put it in your eyes, so don't put it in your eyes. So yeah, you know, the Victory Gundam here, I spilled some glue here while fixing an issue, and that glue is so strong it melted the plastic down here. And I broke the hinge mechanism, so you can see how this armored plate moves up and down. Well, this one is permanently fixed to here now because I had to like cement it on. And the thin cement has its uses, but the heavy cement, whoa, my goodness, this stuff melted it like right away. And then I spilled it on the wrong spot, and now I gotta like do some sanding, and I'm definitely afraid of like breaking that. So I'm gonna do that later. Less is more, they say. And I think maybe a more Mormon is less Mormon than what we are accustomed to. Then we got a Zeon Zaku, and these guys look like the Roman soldiers. Except that I didn't paint this part black yet, but I gotta say, the black paint up here looks pretty convincing. I think Punkwaddle, the penguin puppet, well, he's not a puppet, he's a real penguin. I think he would be proud if he saw this Gundam, even though the paint is blotchy and stuff. And I know Wilton would like probably tell me it's ugly. He'd be like, Wilton would be like, that paint job sucks. Or maybe he wouldn't say sucks, he would just say it's bad. It's an ugly paint job, he would say, or something like that. You know, he'd say, this is so stupid, or, you know, he'd have to put his, anyway. So yeah, there's that, and jumping all over the place, but that's what I wanted to share about Eric Boyd, who has the coolest avatar out of everyone here. I mean, Floral has a pretty cool avatar. Lady Mist has a great avatar, actually, too, but Eric Boyd has a monkey man, a bear holding a lady, or like it's an alien with a helmet a space helmet on. It's like a bear-like alien, maybe Sasquatch with a space helmet. I think it's great. I think it's really great. I really do. You know, so yeah, there's that. There's that. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this Tartaria thing. Like, what are your thoughts? Did you guys ever hear of the Tartaria or the so-called butterflies from the past, like, I think 200 years or any of that? Like I said, I don't buy any of it, but, like, I tried to be entertaining. I tried to keep an open mind, and my problem was that basically, when looking at Andreas's work, he seemed like a genuinely nice guy. This guy on the left over here, Andreas Xirtus with an X, Xirtus. But Andreas drew your avatar, Lady Mist. Can you believe that, guys? No, I'm kidding. Lady Mist drew her own avatar, which I don't doubt for a second, because it looks like artwork. It looks like you kind of did like a sketch and then add a little bit of pastels or watercolors to it or something. Like, I mean, I'm not an expert on art. I'm just kind of guessing here, but it's pretty cool. Whereas Lemon Pie just took lemon and put it in an ice cube. So that works too, you know? It's called, oh yeah, that's good to know the name. I hope I remember it this time. I'm going to make a note. It is called, Eric Boyd's avatar character is called a Metaluna mutant. Metaluna. I wonder if there's some kind of meta inside that lunar mutant from the movie. Oh, is it from The Silent Earth? I've seen that movie. I don't remember it last time I saw it. I watched the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version, so I might have a skewed or edited or, misremembered version, considering, MS3TK, what, can't say it. MST3K is, different, so to speak. One of these days, I would love to do like my own MST3K mock live stream type thing, or maybe like have people watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 commenting on Mystery Theater Science Theater 3000. That would be kind of cool. I should probably put the chat window down here so I could look at the camera. In fact, that's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about getting like a screen that fits next to my camera or some crazy setup like that. Maybe put like a phone mount over here so I could see the chat by looking at the camera, almost like a teleprompter. So, anyway, like, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I'm all ears regarding that whole Tartaria thing. But the only other thing I would jump topic to now would be another guy who does some similar work. And not really similar work, similar in that I guess I have similar feelings towards the work. And so, Andreas Xirtus, like I said, he talks about Tartaria and he's big on that. And the problem is that I don't think he provides sources. That's my real issue. Like, even say what you will about certain religious topics, but they tend to provide sources, or they try harder to provide sources. The other one would be this guy here, and I feel like if I say this guy's name, I'm gonna be messed with. No, I'm kidding. But jokes aside, like, he dresses like the frickin' Men in Black. Like, look, he's wearing sunglasses, he's got a frickin' suit on and a black tie. He was featured on Vice News, which is probably like a red flag right there. But on one angle, like, I agreed with the guy's perspective on the whole UFO thing, because, like, he would talk about the UFOs and be like, basically saying that it's not aliens, it's man-made craft, that they want to push the alien agenda, the government, the media are out to push this alien agenda, but it's really just man-made craft. And I'm kind of open to that perspective, and whenever people want to jump to the, like, it's aliens conclusion, I don't have sufficient evidence. Like, I have some evidence that there are craft that are flying in ways that are, like, breaking the laws of physics. Okay, I get that. We have, like, we see that. But even then, it's like, well, the camera doesn't know what it's looking at. It's an image sensor. It's looking at a blob, and that blob can appear to be moving across a certain amount of pixels. You're not getting accurate ranging or distancing without, quality, what do you call it? Stereoscopic data. If you had two cameras, stereoscopic parallax imaging, you could, like, get your distancing like a rangefinder maybe. If there is a radar signature, then they can get a distance. But if they don't have a good radar signature on a camera, then you can't really range it or calculate the speed reliably. So there's that. And my main problem with, like, Dark Journalist was, like, he'll go into these interesting rabbit holes on all kinds of topics. It's like, me personally, I cared a bit about the UFO thing and maybe a little bit of the Tesla thing or whatever. But then he'll claim, basically his thing is that the alien agenda and all of that is because the government is flying the UFOs, or that private sector groups that maybe are permitted by the government are flying UFOs. These UFOs have anti-gravity technology and perhaps something akin to unlimited free energy, which I don't really like that term, but you know, I like the concept if it was real, but I just don't think it's a realistic concept. But I get what they mean, like a form of energy that doesn't require petrochemicals, that doesn't require the petrochemical industry. So when you have all of these elites telling you that you need to take a haircut, you need to, like, you know, use less fuel or something like that, and, you know, save the planet, do your part, and then they go and they fly to Davos to talk about the climate. It's like, why couldn't you just do a freaking Zoom meeting if it's such an emergency? But it would be like a real bombshell if there were elites who were aware of technology that allows a craft to fly or hover without using jet fuel. You know, that would be a big deal. That would be kind of cool. But you could say things and talk about, you know, weave a story. In fact, one of the things that got me, like, less keen about this guy was he did a series of videos called the X series, but then in some of them he would talk about Colonel Sanders' daughter. Yeah, Colonel Sanders, you know, the KFC guy. He would talk about her. And his thing is, also, I should mention that when it comes to JFK, JFK was killed by the aerospace wing of the military-industrial complex to cover up, like I said, that anti-gravity technology and all of that stuff. And that sounds all great and stuff. The other thing was, like, I'd see the thumbnail for this stream, and I don't know. I don't trust this lady. I don't know why. Call me a dick. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Those eyes look like they're too hypnotic to trust. I mean, sure, she looks kind of cute, I guess, but, like, I don't know. I just don't trust this whole Men in Black motif with this lady with the eyes thing, you know? But that's, like, a little bit prejudiced of me. I'm not gonna, like, pretend that I didn't just make a prejudicial opinion there, you know? It is. But, you know, just some of the weird shit that I had on my mind today. And, you know, if anybody's got any thoughts, let me know. But otherwise, I'm going to segue briefly back into something else. I just wanted to do a stream today because I'm trying to keep a commitment. And I think we are going to keep this commitment here where I do this on Mondays. Every Monday, we're going to do this. And like we did it again. I think this is week 3 of doing a Monday show. And I started at 10:26 p.m. and it's 10:54. And I want to do like at least a half hour, you know? I want to do at least a half hour of this. I figured that would just be like a good, clean half hour show. And then if I could do at least a half hour every week, I'm a happy camper. If I could do an hour long show, cool. Today, I think I'm going to run out of steam pretty early. And like, you know, I'm not going to, like, you know, spend time saying, let's do our model making. I mean, sure, maybe my brain will come up with something to talk about while I do this. But right now, what I really need to do is I need to show some love to this. Whoops, I removed the wrong foot. Put your best foot forward, they say. Or put your... There we go. So, in this case, you're going to put the worst foot forward. But jokes aside, actually, there we go. We'll put the best foot forward and the worst foot will go back. Because I want to see if we get rid of that ugly mess over there, right? But, you know, the viewers are sometimes part of the show. So if you guys... Oh, I hit the chat. I had to bring the chat back. Let me get the chat back. I'm sorry, guys. Why, thank you. I appreciate that opinion, Eric Boyd. I agree. I think being consistent with a certain day or evening is indeed a good strategy as well. I didn't really plan topics that well today. Sometimes I'll have something on my mind all day. I guess a random one is cybersecurity. Like, I don't know if you guys ever dealt with elderly people or did tech support with people. And, like, sometimes it just surprises me how certain common sense doesn't seem to be common sense to people. Like, what was it called? For example, like, I seen customers in retail, they would be buying 1,000 gift cards or something like that. They try to buy more gift cards than they're allowed to buy. And it would be because somebody tricked them into buying gift cards to pay for some kind of fraudulent service. Or there would be like those, so many weird things I've encountered. But most common would be when people would get a pop-up ad on their screen telling them to call a phone number in order to, like, deal with a computer problem. And of course, Microsoft has never gone out of their way since the 90s to help you fix your computer problems. So it just wouldn't make sense to me that all of a sudden Microsoft starts giving you shit saying, oh, we'll fix the computer if you just give us a call. And so it's usually like a fake tech support scam. And then the other way is they will solicit you on the phone, and then they'll tell you to go to your computer. And that's a fun one. I'll give you an example of that in a second. Yeah, in fact, I'll give you an example right now. So here's a crazy one I've seen. And this used to happen a lot to customers. They'd get a call from like a person claiming to be from tech support. I've met people where like they get a call from a guy saying, hello, this is the Microsoft technical department. And it sometimes would be an Indian guy. And in the case of an Indian guy, I remember one example. They told the customer, go to your computer, open up the command prompt, then type the following command. And they would always be like talking, they were talking a posh tone. They'd be like, sir, can you type the following in, please? And then you type in the command. And all this command does is it tells you what version of Windows you have. And if you read that number to them, they'll be like, oh my, it looks like you have system errors. Or they might ask you to type another command, and they might tell you to type in like ipconfig. But it doesn't really matter what command you type. They'll have you read some numbers back that you don't understand, and they'll say that they'll basically talk you into letting them remotely log into your computer. And at that point, they will either pretend there's a problem and offer to charge you money to pretend fixing it, or they'll outright go and encrypt your data. They'll literally encrypt your pictures, music, and documents and videos on the spot. And they'll leave a ransom note, a text file containing a ransom letter in every one of those folders. And sometimes they'll even, depending on if you're old or unaware, they'll continue to pretend to not be aware of doing that and act like they're there to help. Or if you become rude to them, or if they're just dicks or whatever, they'll just start like telling you like, you know, you better pay up or you'll lose your data right now, and you know, they'll hold it ransom. And so basically they'll ask you to give them money to give you the password to decrypt your data, and there's no way around it unless you're willing to just lose that data. And they don't want cash. They'll usually tell you to convert your money to cryptocurrency in order to, you know, fulfill that service. And we got some great opinions here. We got Eric Boyd saying, well, not, we do have Eric Boyd saying, scammers piss me off to the nth degree. I'm not elderly, but even I have gotten fooled or close to it. And yeah, I've met people who gotten close to fooled. And one time I lambasted someone to the point that like they denied that they were about to like let the scammer do something. But I'm like 100% they were going to let the scammer do something, because they were at the point where they were 2 steps away from letting the scammer remotely log into their computer. And in this example, the scammer asked them to download TeamViewer. And the way TeamViewer works is you can download a version of TeamViewer that you install on your computer so that you can access your own computer remotely. But there's also a version of it that you can download. Like if, let's say, your friend wants to help you fix your computer remotely, your friend would tell you to download the app, and then you'd give them the code that pops up on the screen, and they could help you fix your computer. But obviously, such a program could be easily, you know, exploited by scammers, and often is exploited by them. And I was like telling this person, like, dude, you were literally in the act of downloading this app. And they're like, no, I was just testing them. He was like, I was just seeing what they were going to do. And I was like, well, you went too far when you started going through the steps of downloading that remote, you know, access application. You know, that was like, you know, kind of too far. But I think because they denied, I think that person genuinely learned their lesson, which is what's important. And that's why sometimes people say, you know, you gotta, like, you'll read about, no offense, but it's like if you get like almost had and you learn your lesson, yeah, you shouldn't be shamed. But if someone's a chronic scam victim, or if they don't learn their lesson, I think maybe it's not unreasonable to shame them a little bit. Like I see a lot of these articles saying like, oh, it's not nice. They're always, you know, you shouldn't be shaming the victims. And it's like, well, maybe coddling people too much is the reason they become chronic victims. You got to tell them that, no, this is really not great. But let's see what else we got here. They are getting slicker, Eric. It gotten to where I don't trust anything I don't know, and rightfully so. Why should any of us trust anything that we don't know? And, you know, worst case scenario, you can learn about it. And let's say, like, you know, you weren't sure. Like, what's crazy is, like, we have the information available to learn. So any type of scam, we can usually Google, like if something seems a little bit abnormal, like the gift card scam or any number of things, like you can Google it and usually get a general idea. The only issue is that if you go to a forum where they deal with scam alert or scam awareness, scammers will often congregate there. And one thing I noticed was when posting a comment to one of these forums, a scammer would leave a comment like where they would pretend to give you a testimonial. And this comes up in Reddit posts, YouTube videos. You'll see comments where a person is leaving a testimonial saying, I was robbed of this much money, but thanks to Ted at XYZ Recovery Services, he was able to get all of my money back to me. And then they'll give you a phone number, except they'll give you a phone number on a Telegram app, which Telegram is an encrypted chat application. So if anybody's ever offering, computer services, stolen funds recovery services or investment services, and their point of contact is through a Gmail address and a encrypted chat app like Telegram, that is not a legit thing at all. And any time I've dealt with someone who didn't know better or something, it was very confusing. I don't know, it's almost like there's there might be a scammer's for some people there might be a scam victim's Stockholm syndrome, if that makes sense. I know it sounds a little weird, but there might be something like that going on. And I just noticed something I can't unsee. I'll get to that in a minute. So, oh no, the color, never mind. Okay, to get back to that. So let's get back to our dear friends in the chat. The scammers excuse my language. The scammers payback and scam beta are great. Oh yeah, I love those. They are great to watch. You're absolutely right, Eric. That's scammers payback and scam beta. No, they do God's work. They really do. And Kit Boga is more of a joker, but still good to watch. These guys help keep you informed how these mofos get to you and your family. And yeah, that's true. It's something like maybe I should make a habit of just sharing those types of content with people who are higher risk in my life, right? That I care about. It's not a bad idea. Because like you said, that's a way to raise awareness, right? And just also, I do find it satisfying when these people get screwed. But I actually do have an interesting theory. It's great. I actually have an audience to share my opinion about this. The pathology of scammers, actually, especially Indian ones in particular. I can't speak for all of them, but I can speak for the Indian scammers to some extent. And let's see, Eric Boyd also says back to Lemon Pie about how it's getting slicker. Yes, they are, Lemon Pie. That's a good strategy. Rarely will a company call you out of the blue. Yeah, that's why you shouldn't just trust anything, you don't know, because rarely will anything call you out of the blue. And unfortunately, and Eric Boyd, I'm so glad you're saying this right now. Unfortunately, the older generations really grew up and lived in eras where they trusted people, including strangers. Anything technologically related fools them because they trust what they say. So that's okay. So there's so many prongs to look at this at. When I started working at Best Buy in 2004, in the Geek Squad, I remember back then Windows XP would get viruses just by you looking at the computer the wrong way. You'd look at your computer the wrong way and you'd have a fucking virus on there. But jokes aside, there would be these malware, spyware, adware, malware. Basically, it's all the same shit. Bad for your computer. Slows it down, makes it perform, poorly, and compromises your privacy. These applications would accidentally get downloaded on the computer that look like a virus scan. And it would usually have a colorful logo that looks like a picture of a shield. And it would say Super Duper Defender Plus or whatever. And it would give you a progress bar and it would be we detected 800 viruses and errors on your computer. Click here to fix and clean it now. And you click it and then it would want you to buy something. And the app would persistently pop up, so you'd try to close it and it would come back up, or you try to go about your business and this thing would always come back up on your screen to disrupt what you were doing. So you'd get a call from these customers and they would read it off the screen, they would read the entire thing, and it's before they read 3 words, I'd be oh, this is one of those fake tech support apps. But they would be reading it like it was sacrosanct, because it's the old people, even older than the people I was dealing with, I guess something printed in the newspaper is considered legit. And if it comes up on a computer screen, they would treat it like something they saw on TV, because everything on TV is real. So if it's coming up on another type of TV screen, it must be real too, or something like that. But that being besides the point, I do have a little more to expand on that. I just want to go and see what else is here. That's a good observation. Thank you. And Eric True, Lemon Pie says, Eric True, I watch them for entertainment, but I never thought of the fact it does show you the latest scams. Yeah, so it's something. And Like there were some I wasn't completely aware of, but you know, like I could appreciate learning about new ones because like I don't work in tech support like actively anymore, so I'm not exposed to the newest ones, but you know, there's that. But now pathology. I want you guys to think back to like 2004 to 2006-ish. Many people were buying Dell computers around that time. Like, you know, they were having good sales, they were offering good deals, they had like computers that were like for budget-oriented people and in between. And they were pretty good quality computers around that era, and they were like able to like take something that was like the technology that was available in 04 was becoming, or it's a computer you'd pay good money for in 2002 or 2003 would be available in 2005 at a more affordable price. And so more people were getting access to quality computers that were, you know, for internet, MySpace, Facebook, you know, everything you do on a smartphone, a lot of people were just beginning to do on a desktop computer back then, you know, like a lot of normies or whatnot. And what I remembered was like anytime, let's say someone downloaded a virus or their computer started getting slow because they downloaded too much junk and it was slowing it down. Now, most people wouldn't, you know, seek to get their computer if it just they wouldn't seek to get their computer fixed if it was just getting slow. But back then, the nature of security was such that you could download toolbars. So toolbars were like these little bars. Like if I press the button here right now, that bar pops up right here. And that's just a bookmarks bar. But back in the day, Internet Explorer would have like stacks of bars. So you'd have the AskJeeves.com search bar or the ad blocker bar. And of course, back then the screens were smaller and lower resolution. So each toolbar would like take away screen real estate. Now, these days, we can start browser add-ons, and these buttons up here are the equivalent of toolbars, but each one of these are ones that I chose to install that conduct a practical function, and they have not bogged down the performance of my computer, but there was a time where it was really easy to download malicious ones by accident. So anyway, now imagine like you're in that position, right? Things are slow, and then one day the sound stops working on your computer, or your computer's internet connection. Because once you corrupt enough of the files that are responsible for making Windows work, you'll corrupt the part of Windows or whatever that allows you to connect to the internet. And then it's usually that point that people will seek tech support. That's when it's worth $200 to that person to get it fixed, whereas it wasn't worth $200 to get it fixed. It was just a minor thing. And so they'll call up Dell because they bought the computer from Dell, and maybe it's under the 1-year warranty. Now, the 1-year warranty technically covers hardware failure, manufacturing defects. It doesn't cover viruses, but if you don't care about losing your data, let's say you don't have any documents, pictures, music, or anything stored in your computer, and you don't need to reinstall any applications, then Dell could walk you through resetting the computer to factory settings. And sometimes if you have your apps, but you know you have the CD for Microsoft Word and you have the activation code and that's the only thing you're worried about, they can help you reset the computer to factory settings. And the Indian guys from Dell support, because at the time, Dell was rapidly transitioning to doing like 90% of their tech support through India or, you know, other countries. And so the problem was that a lot of people would get a person with an accent on the phone, and they'd get a rude tone, especially if they couldn't understand the person. Instead of just like turning off the fucking TV and listening, they would just be like, "What? I can't understand you." It's like, "Oh, I got a fucking Indian guy." And they'd be like really like, you know, rude about that. And then they'd show up at Geek Squad. They'd rather pay me to fix it than, you know, be patient with the Indian guy. And part of it is because the company doesn't care if they don't train the support staff well enough, because they don't want to commit too much resources. They don't want to support people. They have to strike a balance between having support people that are effective and having support people that aren't so effective that people actually want to call them, if that makes sense. Like there is this weird balance behind it. So when you call a call center for the cable company, if you have a good interaction with the employee, they are required to offer to sell you something, you know? And in a way, I would be like, well, this person was just nice to me. Why would I want to reward this nice person by trying to sell them something? But, you know, that's like the rule. That's the fucking rule, you know? And sometimes, look, don't get me wrong, sometimes people want to upgrade and get like HBO. In fact, I recommend you guys sign up for AMC Network. Now, jokes aside, real side note here, I watched a movie. I read a book called The Terror by Dan Simmons. It's about the doomed Franklin expedition. We talked about this on my Columbus Day stream. And The Terror was the movie. They also made a movie about the freaking thing, and I'm sure we could find something like cool picture or something. I mean, like, look, you got a British guy right here, right? So you know it's about some British sailors or some crap like that. I just want to find one damn video clip on YouTube or something like that. Why didn't I just go to YouTube? Let's do that. AMC the Terror. And basically there's a ship called the Terror and there's a ship called the Erebus. And I think Erebus is like some kind of demon or some shit like that. And apparently they have the whole first episode on YouTube. So yeah, if you look up that, apparently you can watch the whole first episode if that is your fancy. But I just love, you know, boats being in the ice and these guys getting stranded. Well, I don't love that they're getting stranded. But at one point, they get so stranded in the ice that they now have to go and, like, put these boats, whale boats, on, like, sledges and drag them across the ice with supplies so that they could either cache supplies for planning their escape or so that they could, like, see if they could find, you know, a way to get out of the ice, basically. And they're trying to use dynamite to blow up the ice. This guy's doing surgery. You probably don't want to see the guy. You got icebergs. You got this poor bastard. He's going to go underwater in a freaking diving suit to, like, fix the propeller. Now, these ships were the first to have, like, boilers. Or not the first, but these were some of the, like, the first icebreakers to have a steam boiler on him. But the propeller got shattered and broken. So that was part of why they got stranded in the area. And this guy looks really just frozen right here. And this guy here was like a veteran. He went to like the Arctic like 20 years earlier, and he went there with Sir Ross, and he's telling him like, dude, you can't have hubris about this. We're not gonna be out of the ice in like 2 weeks. And everyone's like, oh, you're being melodramatic. And him and this guy are like, nah, man, we're dead ass, man. The four of us know that there's only living people and dead people. This guy's the ice master. His job is to read the ice and find leads. And leads is basically looking for cracks in the ice and ways that you could like crack the ice open to navigate through the ice and stuff like that. So good times. So I forgot how I just jumped topic left and right, but yeah, that's them burying a guy, of course, because you gotta bury your men. But yeah, let's get more icy boats. So forgot what I was talking about, but yeah, I just love looking at a boat with ice on it, you know. But let's get back to the chat. Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. So I didn't get back to the Indian tech support guys who become scammers. Why does it happen? Okay, they're working for Dell between 2004 and 2007 or 2008, and they get tired of being treated like shit by people who are, you know, calling for support. People who may not be covered under warranty, or people that are willing to help but like are being dicks. So the Indian guy says, shit, I could get paid twice as more to work for a scam tech support company. So they take that job. Because at this point, you know, why, if they're being treated like shit by the customer base, why would they continue to work for Dell when they can get paid more to scam the very people who were being dicks to them? So I think that's a factor for why Indian tech support scammers exist. So that's why, like, I have not a whole lot of sympathy, but I kind of sympathize a little bit. Like, I kind of like get it. It's very weird. But let's get back to the chat, because I see something about the 1800s. And the 1800s, of course, excites me because it gets me back on the topic of boats with ice on the ropes. And, you know, you can see the steering wheel right there. You got two dudes steering that shit. And there's a fucking rope, I think, that pulls on the rudder. And, yeah, man, they're doing a team system right there. So, anyway, let's get to the chat. I'm so amusing myself right now. I'm sorry. Lady Miss says, I just reformat, wipe it clean, and start over. And yeah, that works. And, you know, like, if you back up your data, or if you have, like, you know, backup, so if you have data that you consider valuable, that you don't want to lose, you could back it up. And then that reduces the consequences of doing your wipes. And you're right, like, when you do the wipe, the computer's running real snappy right after that, right? It's when you accumulate stuff on the computer that it starts to slow it down because you're consuming your RAM. And that's why you want me to do a video on how to upgrade RAM. And I really should do that video. But anyway, let's just roll up the top of the chat for a second. I can only imagine, Eric Boyd says, I can only imagine dealing with that situation concerning the older customers. Yeah. And yeah, I did have to deal with that. And at various types, various stages. Sometimes I saved people. Other times I helped them pick up the pieces. And some people like... get it, and other people continue to not get it, and their daughters come in to tell me about it afterwards. And then Eric Boyd goes on to say, it does boggle my mind how the Navy... Why are you yelling? You're writing in caps. No, I'm kidding. The Navy is written in caps. It does boggle my mind how the Navy, scientific, and commerce companies dared to venture into ice-filled oceans and seas, especially during the 1800s. And, you know, and thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Eric says, oh, that's another good observation about scammers. Yeah, I do find it fascinating. Now, these guys were looking for they were trying to, like, navigate the so-called Northwest Passage, which would be, like, you know, top of the globe where you got, like, some ice, but the goal is, like, the original goal was to navigate. In fact, Franklin went on a failed expedition earlier than the 1845 expedition, and luckily made it back alive after that expedition, but their hope was that they were going to just find clear ocean and cut straight through, like, the like lateral angle of the North Pole or something and get straight to Asia. And instead they hit ice, and they were lucky they didn't get stuck in the ice that time. But this time they kind of were too good at their jobs. Like, the ice master was too good at his job and navigated the ice. Now, there's ice that was treacherous, that was like elsewhere, but he understood that ice. And this ice here was like pack ice from the north, not melted ice, but pack ice. And basically these ships ended up becoming stationary forts in the middle of the ice for like 3 years. And the problem was the canned provisions they were provided were rushed out. And the company that did it also kind of janked the British Navy, the Admiralty, because they didn't really boil the food and vegetables and meats at a high enough temperature for long enough, because they were trying to rush it out. So that meant that there was higher likelihood of bacteria in the food, and so some of their provisions apparently were like fucked up. And the other issue was the soldering. So they back then they soldered the cans shut, probably with lead. But the lead poisoning was probably not an issue. I know people talked about the possibility of lead causing the men to go mad, and although that's possible, that's probably not the issue. The real issue is botulism. The bad soldering was causing the food to be more easily contaminated. And so, yeah, that was like a humongous issue. And I saw like a picture of I should have saved that picture. I saw a picture of a preserved lump of meat that was found by the rescue parties. The rescue parties never rescued anybody, but they went looking for these guys. Oh, my bad. The picture wasn't in the center. I'm so sorry. The picture wasn't in the center. Here, we'll rewind the video so you can see more of the boat. Who doesn't love looking at a boat in the ice, right? They look at that, got their little anchor right there, and they're doing their little funeral, and they're putting the fun in funerals. No, I'm kidding. That's Dr. Good Sir. Yeah, his name is Good Sir. His name is literally Good Sir, and he's a good sir, actually. He's well reputed in the writings. So, you know, that's some of what I wanted to share today, but I think we covered all our bases. I'll show you guys my Gundam model one final time before we come to a conclusion. And once again, I do want to remind you guys to check out my dear friend Floral from Under a Rock. I'm going to leave you guys a link in the chat, and that brings you to Floral from Under a Rock, and he's a puppeteer. In fact, Floral is not a puppeteer, he is a puppet, right? Because, you know, you got to suspend disbelief. And we're going to put a dancing girl behind me here. Come on, dancing girl, where you going? Wait, oh, I don't have the dancing girl anymore. Oh, no. There's a button here that's supposed to make a girl dance behind me, but it didn't work. I did kind of edit that. I wish I didn't edit that now. Yeah, this button is supposed to turn this on and off. The button no worky anymore. I wonder why. But there we go. I got a little anime girl dancing behind me. So I need to get my brain back. Oh yeah, last thing I want to show you guys. For anybody who didn't see it in the beginning of the stream, and before I drop out, yeah, thanks Lady Mist. So anyway, this is the V2 Victory Gundam that I was playing with and assembling, and basically I showed this early in the stream, but essentially what happened was I broke the flexible hinge material for this armored plate here. So I had to basically glue it on, but the glue I used, instead of using the thin cement that I've been using to hide the panel lines, I used this stuff right here. When you open up this bottle, it makes some strong fumes. And it melts the plastic, like immediately melts the plastic together. So now I got to give this very gentle care. Tomorrow, if I stream it, even if I don't stream, I'm going to give this some gentle care to like sand it or file it down. but basically it melts that together, and now it's not going to move anymore, but it's also not going to fall off. So I'm a happy camper. But the problem was when the glue dripped, it got onto like other pieces, and so this here I had to file it down because the glue literally caused the plastic to like expand and at the edges and get all like tattered looking. So basically we filed that down. I'm probably gonna bring it to work tomorrow. I wanted to show this to a coworker. Maybe I'll do a little maintenance on the Gundam tomorrow. You can see how like melted plastic stuck to this little poly cap over here. But the way this works is you take the armor and you like put it here, and this helps to keep the leg rigid while also helping with the cosmetics. But yeah, very articulated. I want to build the larger, more complex version. I do need to give some love to this area here, either by using the Gundam marker. I used the Gundam marker already, and I could do better with the paint job. And I can either keep sanding this to get rid of the seam, or I'll use the Gundam marker to paint it. But tomorrow, I'm not going to really work on this at work because I don't want to, like, look like I'm doing, not doing my job. So I'm just going to show it to my coworker tomorrow because I wanted to see what the hell I was working on last week. But actually, maybe I could bring a marker in and do the panel lines because there is a way to do that. So that's one. And then the Zaku, this one I had to paint like by hand. I still have to add black up here. And, little blotchy this. That's what I want to share right now. But anyway, I think we're going to end this. So anyway, you guys, it was wonderful hanging out with you guys tonight. And for anybody watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And for now, we shall end transmission as soon as I find the button. So we're going to end transmission on my mark.